Hello and welcome back to another episode of MacStories Unwind. I'm John Voorhees, and I've got Federico Vitici with me. Hey, Tici.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing all right. What's going on today? What's going on?
Got a haircut.
Yeah,
so that's
you
nice.
did. You're looking good.
Thank you.
I haven't shaved. I need a haircut. I'm going kind of, I don't know, like blogger hobo look today. You know? Are you familiar with hobos? Do you know what hobos are?
Like a homeless person?
Yeah. It's a term from like the Depression era America.
Really?
Yeah, people riding would live in freight cars on trains and things and move around the country homeless that way, and they called them hobos.
Okay. Well, you should. I really would like to see you eventually with a long beard.
I know.
But Jennifer won't let you do it.
I don't think that she would. I don't think that she would approve. I don't think that she would approve.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Two things I've always been trying to convince you since we've known each other. One, grow a beard, and two, get a dog.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
So far, I have been unsuccessful.
Yeah. You and Jennifer may have rom-coms in common, but you don't have love for beards or dogs in common.
I mean, you are, as they say, empty nesters.
Yes, we are. We are. We need the companionship. Is that what you're telling me? Because we have no friends?
I don't know, maybe start with a goldfish or something. You know, you can get a goldfish.
Yeah.
Have you ever owned an aquarium?
When I was a kid. Yeah. When I was
used to have a goldfish named in Italian would be the equivalent to little shark.
Okay.
And little shark lived for goldfish aren't supposed to live long, right?
I don't know. Some can, I think.
Little shark lived for 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And it used to be orange, obviously. It became white, like silvery almost.
Oh, yeah.
And this, I'm going to say something, content warning. I was very little. I was probably 11, 12.
Yeah.
And when little shark died, I was very sad, obviously. We used to carry little shark with us everywhere. We would...
you would take it places?
I would take it places. We would retrofit a plastic water bottle. We would cut the top of a plastic water bottle with scissors, and we would just fill the half of the bottle with water, put little shark inside, and close it off with a lid, basically.
Okay.
And it would come on vacation with us and everything. Oh. And... but it was growing old, obviously, and
I'm even more impressed that this little shark lasted as long as it did, living in a water bottle.
A little shark lived a full life, and one day we came back home, and it was just floating on the surface.
Right.
And I was really sad, and I kind of wanted to have a funeral for him. Instead, my parents decided to just flush it down the toilet.
Oh, well, that happens. That's how our fish went when I was a kid, too, I think.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Very bummed.
Growing up, I had dogs. When I was
really... You did?
Yeah, when I was super little, before I was even in, grade school, we had a sheepdog, an old English sheepdog, and one of those really big dogs.
Not a border collie.
No, it's they're black, they're gray and white, and they have a lot of the fur over their eyes and kind of flappy ears.
Yeah, that's a serious dog.
Yeah, it's a big dog. That's a heavy dog. And then when I was in middle school, high school age, we had a West Highland White Terrier. Do you know what that is?
No.
That's have you ever seen the bottle of scotch that has the black dog and the white dog on it?
Probably. Yeah.
You know what a Scottish Terrier is? It's a black dog with little pointy ears. This is the white version of that.
Okay.
It's the same thing, but white. So we had that dog for a long time. And that dog's name, here's an irony for you.
Okay.
That dog's name was Sugar.
Sugar.
And Sugar had diabetes in her later life.
Oh, that's ironic.
It's very ironic. We had to give her insulin injections in her later life.
I just love discovering things about you every once in a
Yeah,
while.
what was the other thing you asked me? Oh, you asked me the origin of the name of my company that really isn't really public anymore, except for the fact that it gets a payment every month from my share of MacStories profits. But
something else that you mentioned offhandedly. So you mentioned the bottle of scotch.
Yeah.
Are you do you drink alcohol? Like because I every once in a while you
Yeah.
mentioned that you had a beer
Yeah.
outside, like you go to a pub.
Yep.
Do you like? Do you have any other drinks usually?
Not many. I mean, wine and beer is really it. I
Wine and
mean,
beer.
once in a while, like last weekend, I went to a Mexican restaurant with Jennifer on the weekend, and we had some margaritas. That
Okay.
with a
Okay.
little
So you're
tequila.
not like a heavy drinker. Like you don't regularly like drink scotch or
No, not like
whiskey.
no, and
Yeah.
not like straight up.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah.
were
I'm not.
in when we were in Ireland, we did do an Irish whiskey tour, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
And
I cannot handle like those types of manly drinks.
yeah,
That's too much for
it
me.
is a lot. And I've found that as I've gotten older, my tolerance for it has actually gone down. So it's good that I'm just sticking to like wine and beer. And I drink a lot less of it today than I used to. But yeah, I do enjoy a good beer, especially sitting outside in the summertime. And North Carolina is just thick with breweries, like little local places that you really could only find what they make either at their location or maybe at a handful of restaurants and bars in the general vicinity. So it's kind of a nice way to discover new things. And, a lot of them will have a tasting room in their brewery,
Okay.
and then they'll have food trucks outside, especially on the weekends.
That's a good combo.
It's a very nice combo. I think one of the first warm days in the spring, Jennifer and I went to a town nearby here, Cornelius, which is my favorite name of a town ever. It's a very strange name. But we went to Cornelius and we went to Primal Brewing. Primal Brewing is what has won a lot of awards. We sat outside and we had food from a Honduran restaurant, which was fantastic. I'd never had Honduran food. I mean, obviously Central America, a lot of like Mexican influences and that kind of thing, similar, but amazing fried plantains. And I had like some kind of burrito that had some ingredients in it that were a little unusual compared to if you went to a typical Mexican restaurant, but it was very tasty and had a nice beer with it. So there's
Nice.
my drinking habits, my
Okay.
dogs,
Okay.
and my fish, all in one episode of MacStories Unwind.
Okay. All right. Well, I also see in the notes that you had something about U plugs.
Yeah, so this is something
Totally different topic.
totally different topic. I decided to dive back into the wonderful world of HomeKit, which my HomeKit setup got really messed up. I've talked about this a little bit in other places, and I'm going to write about it. I'm still finishing up the project, but between living on 3 floors, upgrading to a Hue Bridge Pro, and having a couple of power outages, my whole setup got completely screwed up. Nothing was working right. And I've been, with the help of Claude Code in particular, coming up with a way to harden that system so it's a little more reliable. And one of the tips that I got right out of the box from Claude was, well, you've got this bridge, this Pro bridge, which is great, but you live on 3 floors. The bridge is on floor 2. It means that, certain parts of the house on the other floors are very hard to reach. So the thing you should do is you should get a couple of these Hue Smart Plugs and plug them in, because they act as repeaters, and because they are in Zigbee repeaters, which is the radio signal that Hue uses. Because they're plugged into the wall, they are always on and always working, even if the device that's connected to them is not actually turned on, like a lamp or something. And so I did that, and I got them and put one on the first floor and one on the 3rd floor. And it's been fantastic. It's really been rock solid with that. That helped a whole lot in the remote parts of the house where things were maybe a little blocked. So, that's my tip. And I would also say about smart plugs is that I've really discovered that they're not all created equal. These Hue ones are very good, but as with anything from Philips Hue, you're kind of paying a premium for it compared to some of the things out there. I have used some Casa smart plugs. It's like model EP25, which are good, but I did manage to brick a couple of them in the process of this rollout of my new system, because they are Matter and not technically, they're HomeKit compatible, not HomeKit certified. So what ends up happening with a lot of these things that are Matter but not made for HomeKit is that you can set them up in the manufacturer's app, you can set them up in the Home app, But depending on how you do that, you might get a different set of features depending on where you set it up first. And it is possible to get the memory inside these plugs that stores like your settings. You can get it crosswise by having to do when you have to do a lot of factory resets like I was doing to try to get this setup back up and running. So I have managed to brick a couple of them and not been able to get them back and working with I can get them working with the Casa app, which is now the Tapo app because TP-Link bought Casa. And I can't get them working in the Home app, though, even though they work in the manufacturer's app. So it didn't end up being a big deal because I had extras anyhow. So I'm putting these to the side and maybe messing with them again later. But it just goes to show that, the promise of Matter was to simplify all this and make everything easy. It's still not easy at all. I mean, thank goodness for Claude. I mean, really, I think that this has really been a good experience. I mean, just as a preview, what I've done is I've essentially used the API for Hue to catalog everything on my network down to the MAC address and the IP address and every bit of data, and have tests running that show what's online, what's offline, and helping me troubleshoot it. And without that, I would have spent weeks of trial and error because I can pinpoint and troubleshoot these things a lot easier between just the data I can get off of the API and doing research, having Claude do research on the web and looking up all these forums and Reddit posts and things like that. So that's what I've been up to, and I do want to recommend the Hue Smart Plugs, because if you do have a bridge and you're having trouble keeping some of the things on your Hue network, the way to do that, in fact, is to get one of these smart plugs. It's probably the cheapest way to do it, because even though they are a little more expensive than some of the cheaper Matter ones, they're not as expensive as the light bulbs. So,
Okay, all right.
What do you have for me this week, Federico?
I do have a pick. It's a new season of a TV show on Apple TV Plus. It's season 2 of Your Friends and Neighbors.
Nice.
I loved season 1 of this TV show. It follows John Hamm as Coop, as Andrew Cooper, a former sort of financier, broker, guy who deals with money.
Yeah, he's like a hedge fund guy, I think.
Like a hedge fund
right.
guy, who gets fired. And to keep up appearances in this close community where they live in, like this sort of high living, fancy community where everybody lives and knows each other. It wants to keep up appearances, has to deal with divorce also, and paying alimony and all that kind of stuff. Decides to turn to a life of crime. And the basic pitch of the story in season 1 is that he starts stealing stuff from his friends and neighbors, but not just stealing cars or high value and obvious things that would get noticed. His argument is that these people are so rich and they own so much stuff that they don't even remember the things that they own. And since it's a close community and everybody knows each other, most of these people don't even have a security system installed. They just leave the door open, which is crazy to me that this may be a possibility in real life. But yet, his idea is that these people have 50 different watches, a collection of fancy pants, their wives have dozens and dozens of rings and necklaces, all those things. Yeah. And so he says, if I steal a few of these things, nobody will even notice that they're gone because they have accumulated so much wealth, right? And so he starts doing this, and eventually, spoiler for season 1, he never gets caught, but he gets framed for a murder that he didn't commit. And by the end of season 1, he gets acquitted because he didn't commit the crime. And so season 2 begins, is back in the business of stealing stuff. However, in season 2, there's this new entry of this also rich guy that moves into the same community, into the same sort of small town, played by James Marsden. I loved James Marsden in the first season of, what was he called? Brain fog. Remember the fancy TV show on HBO with robots in the theme park?
Oh my God. Westworld.
Westworld. He
Yeah.
used to play the cowboy in Westworld.
Oh, that's
I
right.
believe.
I forgot that.
And James Marsden plays this rich guy. His motivations are not really clear. He basically swoops in, buys a house for $1 million, cash up front, no questions asked. He plays Owen Ash, this rich guy who's apparently into import and export. And we're up to episode 2. Episode 3 is dropping on Friday. And Coop is still stealing stuff with the help of a former cleaning lady of one of his neighbors. Now in season 2, his best friend, another hedge fund guy, business manager, Barney, basically joins the gang in like he is asked to help Coop because Coop got injured in season 1 during a burglary in season 2. He falls, cannot get up. The cleaning lady cannot help him because he's too big and heavy. So they call Barney on the phone. Barney is like, "What are you doing in somebody else's house?" And eventually Coop has to tell him the truth. And Barney, who's also strapped for money, says, "I want in. I want to work with you because you are accumulating so much cash. You don't know what to do with this cash. We're going to launder money." So season 2 is going to be about money laundering as well.
Great.
And this rich guy, this Owen Ash, who wants to be friendly with everybody, wants to invest in one of the neighbors' business, and he knows everything about everyone, almost like he did some research about these people up front. And so episode 2, which dropped last week, ended with a really interesting cliffhanger about Owen and Coop. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
You think he's like a con man or something?
He has that sort of vibe, like rich con man who wants to con the con man himself.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But so far, I am really, really enjoying this TV show. I love John Hamm, and it's a good one. Your Friends and Neighbors season 2 on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, I really need to get into that. That was one of those where Jennifer watched it without me, and I am behind. So I need to find a way to catch up to season 2 so we can watch that one together. Because, we could use a new show right about now. All right, everybody. Check the show notes for an Unwind Deal. I'll have something in there when we publish the episode. And in the meantime, visit us over at MacStories.net. We have some great stories there. We actually published one yesterday all about codecs and all the new features. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. So check out that article. And until next week, you can find me and Federico over on social media. He's at Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHEES. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.